All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my friend Alice Ollstein. Alice is a reporter for Think Progress, which you can find at thinkprogress.org. You can also follow her on Twitter at Alice Ollstein. Alice, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Great to be back.
All right, so Alice, you actually attended CPAC, which is, of course, the Conservative Political Action Conference, and you actually wrote up a handful of reports for Think Progress. I know some listeners are going to be shocked to hear this, Alice, but there was actually some sexism and anti-women statements on display at CPAC. Tell us all about it.
Well, what I tried to convey in my article was that the sexist jokes and statements were definitely there, but what will actually affect the country more is the support for sexist policies that impact women disproportionately than men, further restrictions on access to health care. That was something advocated at the conference, cuts to Planned Parenthood funding, especially in Wisconsin and New Jersey, which has had a very devastating impact on women's ability to access things like cancer screenings and just basic health care. Also, there was a lot of talk about the minimum wage, which has been a very popular political issue, and Republican and Democratic individual states, individual governors and legislatures around the country have been raising the minimum wage. But at CPAC, the talk was about how that is not necessary, and instead we should do things like lower the corporate tax rate, because that would somehow raise wages for workers. And as we know, minimum wage workers are disproportionately women, and so that policy the policy of not raising the minimum wage would definitely impact women.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And I know in the report you talk about Carly Fiorina, who is HP executive for HP's, probably running for president. She gave a talk, and this is something that all Republicans do. They'll say, "Oh, there is no war on women. It's just rhetoric from the left." But the truth is, it really is always about the policies. I mean, sexist comments are bad, but the actual policies that the right advocates for and gets passed in individual states all over the country are literally bad for women, and they literally target women more than just rhetoric, which, while is annoying, does the physical harm that the policies actually do towards women is obviously much, much more than any rhetoric that someone might say.
Absolutely, and I think the Republican Party is definitely trying to learn from past mistakes, like maybe having male candidates talk about women's reproductive rights can lead to some disastrous results. I'll remember the legitimate rape episode that tanked that particular candidate's candidacy there. And so I think that they're trying to be savvy. They're trying to have women in their party, like Carly Fiorina, be the ones to really go after some of the arguments from the left and from Democrats that Republican policies are anti-woman. In a sense, it felt like she was being trotted out to say, "See, our party isn't sexist. I am a woman, and here are some, policies that I support." And I really tried to dig into what she was saying and how that would really impact people. She also said several things that were just factually incorrect. She claimed that more than 60% of minimum wage workers are in high school. That's just provably untrue. That's easily fact-checked. She also was talking about how women are so disengaged from politics right now, even though women turn out to vote at higher rates than men. And, that varies definitely by geography and age and everything, but just as a blanket statement is pretty false.
Yeah. Well, in addition to Carly, there were some actual sexist jokes that I want and statements that I kind of want to talk about too, just because they're telling. One that really stuck out to me is actually from another woman, from Laura Ingraham, talking about Jeb Bush. What did Laura Ingraham actually say about Jeb Bush and why women should like Jeb Bush?
So this was a joke that was based on a article that came out, I think, a week or two ago, that was all about how much Jeb Bush's wife, Columba, has spent on jewelry. And it's just sort of a silly thing to focus on in general. And there were all of these hand-wringing articles about, these revelations of how much she spent on jewelry and what that would mean for his candidacy, and would this hurt Jeb's chances?
Right.
Which I barely paid attention to at the time, but then major talk radio personality Laura Ingraham brought this up at CPAC and really hammered it and made a whole joke about how, women will really support a Jeb Bush candidacy because he lets his wife buy diamonds, and women love diamonds, right?
Oh, my God.
So the basis of the joke was, about ladies and their jewelry. And she attacked him on actual sort of policy points, too, but it just stuck out as really bizarre, and also seemed like another attempt to say, hey, it's a woman making this joke, so it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's like ladies with their jewelry. So, look, I'm a woman, so your sexist thoughts are okay, white men out there. Wow. So I want to hit a couple more, a couple other bad jokes that were made, and then we can move on to the more important stuff, because this stuff, again, this is less important, but it's also pretty funny. Sean Hannity was talking there, and something about X-ray vision, and somehow he is predicting women who were pregnant in the audience.
Yeah, and this one did not go over well with the audience. It was very awkward. Some, sort of very nervous laughter resulted. So the whole premise of his joke is that Democrats continue to blame everything wrong with the country on George W. Bush, which is not actually something that I've heard at all lately.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, this is the premise of the joke. And so he was just going through thing after thing and saying, whose fault is it? George W. Bush. It's not your fault. So he made a joke about how much everyone at CPAC partied and drank the night before. And now they're all hungover, and it's not their fault. It's George W. Bush's fault. And then he takes this even to less comfortable territory and says that he can look out at the audience, and in the women in the audience, he can see who's pregnant because he has X-ray vision, but it's not their fault. It's George W. Bush's fault, which is extremely creepy and absolutely did not work.
Well, it really is just what kind of mind thinks of that, I guess, and thinks that just I have X-ray vision and I can see into women into women and seeing that they're pregnant. What an odd thing to say. And I guess it's sort of going to talk about the psychology of the man. Yeah,
he also busted out more than once in a single day a very bad Bill Clinton impression that involved hey, I'm looking at the pretty girl in the audience right now. Hey, honey, and it was I was cringing. I wanted to crawl under the table.